Hello guys, let's go ahead and begin working with the APA practice I assigned you. Thank you for most of you who completed the activity. For those of you who did not, you can still do it, but since I'm already going over the answers, you will not get the additional credits. It doesn't hurt you, but doesn't help you. I did select a handful of those who completed the APA practice. I'm just going to quickly review some of the items that I see and make corrections where needed. But from what I see so far, many of you did it correctly, so that's great. Let's begin. For the journal article, the number one, I gave you all the information right here. And then I had you create the reference using Noodle Tools Express. I know when you paste it, it doesn't really give you the option to change all that much. Make sure that when you ever paste, you just right-click and choose the middle option, Merge Formatting, and it should take it into the original formatting and switch it over to the Times New Roman size 12. But that's okay. So here we do know it is APA because at the very beginning you have a last name, if there is a last name, and the first name has been removed, only the first letter is there. Afterwards you have a year, 2010. You have the article title, a study of undergraduate students. You have the publication, and then you have the page number or numbers. There is a quoted page here. If you chose to use the quoted page or the whole range, that's fine. We'll take a look at what you did. For the very first one, because this is considered to be the bare minimum, you have Smith. I'll just highlight that. That must be there anytime you use anything from this source. That's how you would find it in the reference list because it is in alphabetical order, just like MLA, same idea. The initial is not required. It should not be included if it's in parentheticals at the ends. Then there's the year. The year is also considered to be mandatory. You must have the year. And finally, there is a page number or numbers that you have to work with here. It does have to be mentioned. However, it's only the page that you're currently using. For the very first one, I asked for an in-text citation, a parenthetical at the ends. That means that you're going to have the last name. Good. You are going to have the year. Good. But you're also going to have the page number. So there's one more comma, space, P, period, space, 172. And make sure that the parentheses are touching what's inside. Back here, this person chose to use it correctly in this one, which is nice, except I was asking for a lead-in, meaning that you would have something like this. You would have Lynn Smith. You would have a year. Then if you wanted to boost credibility, it would be something like using the article title in a study of undergraduate students explains, so you have the verb, and then it links up. Because you have this information up front, you do not include it at the end. It is not required anymore. The only thing you're going to have is you're going to have parenthesis, period, P period space 172, because everything else has already been met. Did we meet the bare minimum? We have Smith, we have 2010, and we have the page number at the ends. That is all required. Okay, let's move on to the next person. So on this one down here, we have another journal article, but this time there are two authors. This person chose to use Noodle Tools Express again. They even tried to kind of get a hanging indent, which is fine. It's not required for using it in OneNote because it's nearly impossible to do that. And then we have their in-text citations and in-sentence citations. So we have two names. We have the year, article title, all this stuff down here. All right. We have last name 2013. Excellent. So this is correct. One of the tools I have given you is in the student OneNote, in the APA area, I do have in-text citation guide for students. If you have in parentheticals, it looks like this, and that's what this person created for us. However, there's one more thing that they needed, and it is the page number. They remembered it for this one, but not for this one. So there's one more right there, comma, space, P period space, 83. All right, so let's take a look at the second one here. We have Alan Jameson and Suzette Pletz. However, because we're using their names in the actual sentence, you must include the year. The year is 2013. Wherever these last names are, because these are considered to be the required bare minimum needed things, needed items from the source. You have to have them. You have to have the year right after them. So if they're in the sentence, they're right afterwards. And wrote in the article. Okay. Not the greatest way to lead into it because it doesn't make it sound very formal. So instead we're going to do writes in, but it's not writes, it's going to be right because it's plural. And then you have the article title. If you have that, this is going to be lowercase because it flows like a normal sentence. There's no pause, there's no stop. Writes that he showed. It's lowercase. At the end, they were nice enough to include the page number, but you do need a P period space and then 83. All right, let's move on to the next one. So the next one that we're working with here is going to be a textbook. You're not going to do this so much in high school, but in college you are going to be required to use textbooks most of the time, and you might be citing from them in APA. So here we have something by Stephen Marisol, 2008, Mathematical Concepts for Non-Math Majors, and then you have the rest of the information here. This person did create the textbook reference correctly. We know it's correct because there's no first name and there's a year. At the end back here, for the in-text citation, you have Marisol. Good. That has the requirement has been met. So you have this right here. You have 2008. That has to be there. There is no page number that's listed here, but because you know it is textbook, there are going to be page numbers, and indeed there is right here. There are occasions now, though. Eventually, when you get to college, you're going to have an e-textbook. E-textbooks sometimes don't have page numbers. That means that when you create this reference, there's not going to be a page number to work with, which is fine. We can just pretend. And it would look like that. But because this is an actual textbook, we're going to leave it. Down here we have in mathematical concepts for in mathematical concepts for non-math majors by Marisol, 2008. Good. So you have the minimum met right there. You have 2008 met. Very good. However, this is not going to be in quotation marks. Well, why do we know that? Look at the reference. This is in italics for a reason. It is the name of a textbook. Therefore, it must be in italics as well. So we can go ahead and remove that. Italicize, and there we go. Down here we have the author explores, so good. That leads into a paraphrase or a summary depending upon what you have. And then after that, you have P period 214. Now, there are two problems with this one. The first one is that you need a lowercase p, and then the second problem is you do need a space in between. But once you have those added, then you're looking good. Okay. So that right there is what it needs to look like for a textbook. So moving on into the next one, we have a book. So we have two authors again. You have a year, you have the title of the book, you have the publishing information, and the quoted page this time go from 113 to 114. Now that changes a few things. So this person did create the correct reference. We have Plum and Nishiki. We have the first initials by themselves. That's correct. You have 2008. That's correct. The book is in italics whenever you mention it, and then you have publishing information. There are no mentions of page numbers, but you know it is a book, therefore there are going to be page numbers. Back here we have two authors, very good. We have 2008, very good. PP period, you have to have that space, 113, 114. You have the double P because there are two page numbers. Good. In the next one we have the two authors, very good, and we also have 2008 following them right afterwards. Good. A creationist view of sexuality is the name of the book. If it's the name of the book, it is not in quotations. It is in italics. You must format that in italics. In quotations, you would find article titles. You would find short things, not books. And then at the end, you have PP period 113, 114. Make sure that that parenthesis is touching what it needs to touch. Very good. In the fifth one, we're now down to websites, and this is where it starts really mattering for you because you're probably going to use websites for your proposal research paper. In the websites, for this one, you have an author, but you don't have a date of publication. This is common on websites. They don't tell you when they last updated something, so you just leave it blank. Then you have the date of access, April 3rd. You have this right down here, the name of the web page. If it's the name of a web page, then that is going to be in not italics, but quoted, because that's just the identifying mark for the page itself. You have a sponsoring organization, and then you have the URL as well. So we have last name, very good. We have N period, D period, that stands for no date, good. This is the page number, or not the page number, the page name, okay. Then the rest of this is just the standard stuff you would have. So we have Akron, comma space, N period, D period, make sure that parenthesis is touching. Down here we have rights, John P. Akron, N period, D period. Good, but keep in mind that it's always ideal to add more information to make it look a little bit better. Who is John Akron? Well, they wrote an article in Statistics, and then you would just have the rest of the information. You could technically just stop it right there, and that would be correct. You decide, because you have met the bare minimum by including the last name, by including also the no date as well. So that has been met. Everything else is optional. You are permitted to shorten article titles if you need to. I just did it because I don't want to type out the rest of it. All right, the final one now. We're moving on into the last website. This last website has no specified author, so that is common as well. There's no author, there's no team of authors, just the page. But there was a date for it, and that was going to be May 3rd, 2011. Okay. So when you enter this information in, you would find that it would actually take the name of the web page and put it in the beginning. You do have a sponsoring organization. That's not necessarily the same thing as the organization itself. What it might look like is not Grassroots of America, but instead you would have this long one right here moving to the fronts. Something like that. So when you give credit to this, you're going to give credit to the page, the article title, and the year. Technically, the only two things that are needed are 2011 and the word coordinating, because that's how someone's going to find it. If you decide to include the rest of the article title, that's just fine. All right, so this person decided to use Grassroots. Okay, well, technically now it's going to look like this. So you're going to have a parenthesis, you're going to have a quotation mark, coordinating, comma, quotation mark, 2011. So that's what it looks like this time. Down here we have explains, make sure you lowercase that. Grassroots of America in their article. Well, this article is not in quotation marks. Because you know it is an article, it is going to have, or not quotation marks, italics, it is going to have quotation marks around it, but you still need the year. The year in this case is 2011. And there you have it. So that's what's going to look like for each one of these. Hopefully you paid close attention to the two versions of the websites. Okay? If it's a web page, it's going to have quotation marks anytime you use it. If it's an author, then you only need the last name. Hopefully this helps, and when you put it in practice, use this page as a reference. But remember, I also have all of that APA stuff over here. Thank you.